Welcome to the Commit to Thrive podcast, where we have committed ourselves to the betterment of physicians, nurses, and executive leaders across the complex world of healthcare and higher education. Join Dr. Todd Redden as he engages with some of the nation's most brilliant men and women to learn leadership best practices, the secrets to personal and professional well-being, and how to build an excellent work culture across complex and ever-changing environments. Now, here's your host, Dr. Todd.
Hey, welcome to the Commit to Thrive podcast. Just one of the many resources provided to you as a physician leader through the Institute for Healthcare and Academic Leadership. If you followed our podcast, it's relatively new, so additional podcasts will be added, but I typically have a physician leader as a guest, and we talk about best practices around leadership and perseverance and many other topics, and we have many more planned and lined up for you. But today it's just me. I was thinking long and hard over the last few weeks about physician leaders, and I've run into some situations lately, particularly at the end of the year, where organizations said that they would like to invest in their physician leaders, or there were other leaders within the organization who were physicians, who led physicians, and they shared that they would like to invest in coaching and leadership development for their physician colleagues, their direct reports, but the organization wouldn't support it financially. Yet I see article after article of healthcare organizations that are expanding and growing and building new buildings. So I know the money's there, and it's a drop in the bucket to invest in physician leadership relative to the overall budget expenses that many healthcare organizations have. When I chose to go out on my own and invest in physician leaders and provide one-on-one coaching and leadership development and culture assessment and building culture within healthcare organizations, I've taken the roles, responsibilities, and experience and training that I've had for over 30 years of healthcare experience, both as a clinician, as academic instructor in higher ed, and having been trained in specifically in leadership. And I've taken that skill set and I decided to commit it full-time to physician leadership. And I now work with some of the largest organizations up and down the East Coast, as well as some going west across the country. And these are large organizations, large private organizations, large public organizations, as well as some medium-sized clinics that are still in private practice. But what I hear more often than not from the larger organizations is the cost associated with investing in physicians. And I want to talk a little bit about that because it tends to be a burr under my saddle when I think about organizations who are unwilling to invest in physician leadership. And the decision makers, quite frankly, often have a coach themselves, but they are unwilling to invest in coaching and leadership. It doesn't matter if it's through my services or through others. This is not a self-serving podcast. I have a passion for physician leaders. I would not have gone into this work full time if it wasn't for that passion. I feel like this is a calling. And having clinical experience myself in behavioral health and having to carry the pager and get up in the middle of the night and go to the ED to take care of a patient or to work side by side with physicians, I recognize over the number of years that I've worked and invested my time in physician relationships and investing in their development and well-being, I've recognized that this is a population that you really need to understand the culture. You really need to understand, having worked both acute care and ambulatory care, the physician experience. Okay, and I've had physicians in my office in tears because of an EMR that they felt was dangerous for patient care because it wasn't being utilized in the most effective and efficient way. I've had physicians who have relapsed and engaged in drinking because of their frustrations and the stress that goes with the noise and the distractions and all the challenges of being a physician within the healthcare environment. And then you bring us up to the current state of affairs with COVID and the amount of challenges that COVID has presented with healthcare and across the higher education experience. So I want to tell administrators, I want to tell physician leaders who lead physicians that investing in your clinical leaders, your physicians, is not only the right thing to do, but it's in the best interest of the organization. So I like to understand the origin of words. So I looked up the word investment. And interestingly, the word invest comes from the Latin word vestus, which means a garment or to adorn someone. So when you think in terms of, I hope you don't lose your shirt over this deal, what they're basically saying is, I hope you don't lose your adornment, your garment, if you're investing financially. Now, we often hear about investments from a financial perspective, and we don't tie it to clothing or a robe or a gown, but you think in terms of dress for success, putting a vest on someone and preparing them for success is where this word originates. So investing in your leaders is a way of lifting them up and supporting them and encouraging them and inspiring them to be effective in their role as a leader. So let's talk about the top 5 reasons that I believe are the primary reasons why you should invest in your physician leaders. I'll go back to my original comment when I was introducing this podcast, and that is, it's just the right thing to do. If you're a leader and you're a physician leading other physicians, or you're a non-physician administrator who has physicians reporting to you, whatever your role is or whoever your direct reports may be, it's just the right thing to do to invest in your team. There are tactical responsibilities, and if people are checking boxes, we think that they are doing their job. But we don't understand beneath the surface how much a person may be challenging, or they may have a genuine desire to be as effective as they can as a leader. Many times leaders are given leadership roles, but they're diminished to tactical responsibilities, and they manage. Management is a very important role, and it has its place. But the physicians I know that I've worked with want to influence. They want to be at the table and have a voice. Physicians want to be paid at a decent rate. They want a voice at the table. They want to be able to provide great patient care. They want you as leaders to minimize the noise and distractions, and they want to be left alone. It's real simple. They just want to do a great job. And when a physician is put into a position of leadership, or they've raised their hand and said, hey, I want to be a leader, be it a CMO or a chief among an academic group, they want to be invested in. They want to know that they're being effective in the role. Physicians tend to be perfectionistic. Physicians want to be all in. And if they don't have the support from their administrative team to be effective, then they're either going to be ill prepared to be effective and walk away, or it's going to create havoc for those that they lead. So if you invest in your family, you invest in your friendships, you invest financially, you invest in yourself, why would you not invest in your leaders? It's just the right thing to do. Number 2, so physicians are typically wired to lead. And whether they want to lead or not, they're thrust into these leadership roles by default. When a physician walks into a patient's room, the heads turn to that physician as the leader of the treatment team, of the service line. The patient looks to the physician. The PA looks to the physician. The family looks to the physician. So the physician is responsible for the treatment of this patient, the outcome of this patient, the liability associated with the procedures and recommendations that they are providing as a physician. And those who lead physicians need the resources and skill set in order to help their colleagues navigate through the challenges of being a physician. And we have to provide physician leaders with the resources in order to be as effective as they can be. So while they're naturally wired to lead, they're often ill prepared. And even worse, the roles and responsibilities associated with that job is usually ill defined. Many physicians go into these roles with the expectation that they're going to lead, or they've seen their colleague who may have been a previous leader and they've set the standard, but they would like to make sure that they're being effective, but their job description is non-existent. And many administrators will say, we're going to put you in this role as a site-based medical director or as a chief medical officer, and you have these 4 or 5 tactical responsibilities, but we also want to respect that you're very busy, so we're not going to really put a lot on you. Well, that's fine. You can put the responsibilities, many of the tactical responsibilities or the administrative responsibilities, on a clinic manager, service line manager, a nurse manager, but that physician wants to lead and they want to partner. So one of the things that I provide as a service through the Institute for Healthcare and Academic Leadership is a co-leadership institute, so that I can teach physicians to work in partnership with administrators or nurse leaders, particularly with an ambulatory setting. So these physicians are not just wanting to provide quality oversight or to be involved in the hiring of a new physician colleague, they want to lead. So they may be naturally inclined to lead, but if their responsibilities are ill-defined or they're ill-prepared, you're setting them up for failure. Number 3, I have found physicians to be intellectually curious and very open to personal and professional development. Oftentimes more open to professional development than non-physician administrators. So we put these physicians into a position and then we don't give them the resources to be successful. I found that in healthcare and higher education, far too often we promote subject matter experts, but we don't teach them how to lead. So if you're really good at financial forecasting, we'll promote you to CFO. If you're a really good bedside nurse, then we'll make you a nurse manager and have you be responsible for the tactical responsibilities of making sure the supply closet is filled, that the nursing to patient ratios are what they should be, or managing schedules and staffing. Now, that's not to diminish the role of a nurse manager. It's very important, and I'm sure the job description goes far beyond that. But my point is, we raise people into these positions because of their primary training and the expertise that they have in their primary role. But then we don't invest in them as leaders within this new role. We give them a title of medical director or section chief, but we won't provide them the development and training that they need. They may have influence among their colleagues. They may be well respected as a physician, but are they effective as a leader? Do they understand what the roles and responsibilities are? And do we encourage them? Do we clothe them? Do we provide them with the garment and invest in them in a way that they can be successful? Physicians want to lead at the top of their game, and we need to make sure that they have what it takes in order to be the best that they can be among their colleagues as well as their co-leaders. Number 4, investing in the professional development of physician leaders minimizes the chance of burnout. I've said this in other podcasts, either as a host or as a guest, that no other job has changed more than being a physician than any other career choice in the nation, in my opinion. So you take, for instance, a CPA. A CPA may have newer software, bells and whistles, or ways to be efficient. You take an attorney. Maybe some of the laws have changed. The hoops you have to jump through for passing the bar exam may have changed. But for the most part, many professionals' careers have not changed dramatically over the last few decades. A physician's role has changed significantly. Everything from pay for performance to the quality metrics that are instilled, that quite frankly many physicians feel like that the metrics themselves and the compensation models tied to quality metrics don't necessarily improve quality, according to a Becker spine review survey just from a few years ago. The EMR, the administrative noises, the challenges of staffing and so forth lead to frustration and quite frankly, burnout. I have had physicians, as I've said, in my office in tears because of an EMR, relapse from drinking because of burnout. So it's very taxing to be a physician, and then to be able to lead physicians and help them navigate through some of the challenges of self-perseverance and to be successful as a clinician is very challenging for physician leaders. So imagine the challenges that are placed upon a physician as a clinician, and then multiply that exponentially when you create a leadership role for them. Many of them still want to practice medicine because, quite frankly, most physicians who stop practicing medicine in order to lead lose credibility with their physician colleagues. Physicians that I know who have accepted administrative roles want to continue practicing medicine. They want to keep their skill sets sharp. They want to maintain their clinical privileges within hospital settings, and they want to make sure that they can relate to their physician colleagues and the challenges that are facing physicians on a daily basis. If they want to continue practicing medicine, if they want to continue in the academic environment teaching or in the research environment, and they want to lead with very little time carved out and dedicated to administrative time, this in itself could be a challenge for physicians. But it can work. They can navigate through this and figure out how to balance all of this, as well as the many responsibilities they have outside of the job. But investing in physician leaders and helping them be successful in these areas in order to balance it all is of utmost importance. And more often than not, if they don't see you investing in them, then they will either walk away from that leadership role, or in a worst case scenario, they may check out completely as a physician. The final reason that I believe that it's important to invest in physician leadership is not based on altruism like the other four, but it's just in the best interest of the organization for a couple reasons. Number one, investing in physician leadership mitigates risk. I've worked with physicians who have gotten themselves sideways with colleagues based on something they put in an email, or based on a threat to their job, or quite frankly, they just didn't know how to manage employee relations type issues. And it has created lawsuits and has created other physicians quitting or having to be transferred from one clinical setting to another. And it becomes very costly to the organization, particularly when they're having to settle lawsuits. And then the second reason that it's in the best interest of the organization, again, it decreases long-term costs. It costs about $56,000 on average to replace a bedside nurse. 7,000 nurses walked off the job in New York City this week because of labor disputes. 7,000 exhausted and burnout nurses walked away. Imagine the impact that has had on the healthcare systems that they were working for. Now, many of those may come back. But if you've talked to anyone recruiting nurses, they can tell you there's a nursing shortage across the nation. It's a challenge to fill those positions, and it's costly. Now let's talk about the physicians. On average, according to the American Academy of Family Medicine, or family physicians, it's cost an average of $250,000 to replace a physician. When you think in terms of the downtime and the lost revenue coming in as a result of that vacancy, just the cost of recruiting and the time it takes for people to interview and to bring in physician candidates, the cost of travel, $250,000 on average for a physician. And I will tell you, in that same review I referenced earlier, the spine review through Becker Healthcare, those that were surveyed, almost half, 46%, said that they are planning a career change, and 80% said that they are overextended or at full capacity. Physicians are burning out. Physicians are frustrated. And an effective leader can help them navigate some of those challenges. But if you don't invest in your physician leaders, it's going to cost you in lawsuits. It's going to cost you in recruiting. And it's going to cost you in ways that you can't measure. So I see organizations investing in buildings and equipment, and they are expanding and acquiring new organizations, costing millions, if not billions of dollars. But when I ask if they want to spend a few $1,000s to make sure that their physicians are well prepared to lead, I have organizations saying we're not interested, that we're not going to invest in our physician leaders for various reasons. I've heard organizations just say we're no longer going to hire coaches for our leaders within the organization. So if you're an administrator and you're not investing in physician leaders, it's going to cost you in the long run. And I promise you that your investment in coaching and leadership development for your physicians and other clinical leaders, whether it's through the Institute for Healthcare and Academic Leadership or other organizations, is going to cost you far less to invest in those resources than what it will cost you to settle a lawsuit or to recruit a new physician. So give that some thought. So in closing, 5 reasons for investing in physician leadership. It's the right thing to do. Second, it's unfair to put a physician into a leadership role, even those with an MBA, without investing in the resources and training and development that they need in order to be effective. Number 3, physicians want to grow. So don't limit your physicians to a title. Invest in their development so they have the skill set to be as effective as they would like to be in those roles. Number 4, physicians understand that to be effective, they have to discover ways in order to lead and not just manage tactically. And this in itself will help mitigate burnout and help physicians be successful in managing all the many things that they take upon themselves, as well as the many things coming at them that they have no control over. And then number 5, last but not least, it's in the best interest of the organization. And if you want to speak in dollar amounts, it's in the best interest of the organization financially to invest in your physician leaders. So I hope this has been helpful. Share the show. I encourage you to like if you're looking at this on YouTube or any of the other podcast platforms, and subscribe so that you can get updates as we provide new podcasts. And please push this out to your physician administrative colleagues, to your specialty societies and so forth. I want to get the word out and make sure that the Institute for Healthcare and Academic Leadership is providing you with the resources that are needed. So look us up on ihaleadership.org. That's ihaleadership.org, and check out the resources that we can provide, or connect with us. Love to chat with you and see how we can help. So until then, continue to have a great day. Invest in yourself, invest in others, and God bless.
That's all for this episode of the Commit to Thrive podcast. We hope you can take away something from this episode that can positively impact your life or those you're in contact with on a daily basis. If you enjoyed this episode, we simply ask that you share the show. To listen to more episodes, please visit our website at ihaleadership.org. Until next time, thank you for listening.